The podcast you are about to listen to is centered on a book titled Divine Wisdom: Key to Mental and Intellectual Excellence by Pastor Jonah Okwudiri Jacob. Pastor Jonah is both the author and owner of the book titled Divine Wisdom. For inquiries on how to get the hard copy, audio or PDF version of the book, kindly contact Impact Media through the informations at the end of this video. God bless you in Jesus' mighty name.
Think for a second about just the sheer volume of information you're going to consume by the time you go to bed tonight.
Oh, it's staggering.
Right. I mean, I'm talking about the news alerts buzzing in your pocket, the audio you listen to on your commute, the endless scrolling.
The Slack messages at work.
Exactly. The emails, the reports. If you actually quantified it, you are likely consuming more raw data in a single day than a person living like 2 centuries ago consumed in their entire lifetime.
Yeah, we are quite literally drowning in facts and data right now.
We are. And yet, if you look around, look at the broader cultural landscape, or even just look really closely at our own individual lives sometimes, despite this massive avalanche of information, we are absolutely starved for actual wisdom.
A really glaring paradox.
It is, because you'd naturally assume that, accumulating all this knowledge would automatically make us wise.
Right, like more data should theoretically equal better, more informed decisions.
But on the ground, in reality, it often feels like the exact opposite is happening.
Well, the information age has played a rather brilliant trick on us, I think.
What do you mean?
We've collectively confused having access to information with the actual attainment of wisdom. And structurally, psychologically, they are profoundly different phenomena.
Oh, totally.
Information is just raw material. It's static. It's like a brick sitting on a pallet.
Okay, I like that visual.
Right. Wisdom, however, is dynamic. It's the architecture that happens when that raw material is properly synthesized, mortared, and executed to, build an actual house.
But the problem is that the bridge between the pallet of bricks and the finished house is where most of human history, and certainly most of our daily decision-making, gets completely lost in the weeds.
Exactly. Which is the exact tension driving our sources today.
Yes, so let's get into it. We are unpacking some incredibly dense, really profound excerpts today from a work by Pastor Jonah Okwudiri Jacob.
It's titled The 3 Progressive Levels of Divine Wisdom.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how ancient languages, specifically the original Hebrew and Greek texts of the Bible, actually reveal a very precise step-by-step blueprint.
Yeah, and it's not just abstract philosophy.
No, not
even begin accessing this blueprint. Pastor Jacob starts by pointing out a major linguistic handicap that we have as modern English speakers.
Oh, right, the language bottleneck.
Yeah. The English language is incredibly expansive, but it suffers from a severe bottleneck when it comes to the concept of wisdom.
Because we just lump it all together.
Exactly. We take this massive, multifaceted, highly dynamic psychological and spiritual process, and we cram it all into one single monolithic word. We just call it all wisdom.
It's like
the exact texture and weight and danger level of the snow.
Yeah, but we just say wisdom, whether we're talking about memorizing a fact or navigating a moral dilemma, or inventing the microchip.
And Pastor Jacob's argument is that because of this bottleneck, it becomes incredibly difficult to grasp the actual mechanisms of the biblical texts.
Unless you peel back the English translation and look at the original Hebrew and Greek.
Right, because those ancient languages don't describe a vague, static state of being smart or enlightened.
No, they describe highly specific, distinct stages of action. They map out an assembly line, basically.
Which brings us to the foundational definition of wisdom that acts as the fulcrum for his entire work.
Yes, he defines wisdom stripping away all the mystique as applied knowledge. It is fiercely practical.
Very practical. He notes that until whatever knowledge you retain within your faculties is applied practically, it produces absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. It is completely neutral. Neither good nor evil. It just sits there, taking up valuable mental real estate.
But when it is put to use, when the application happens, results are inevitable.
And that changes the paradigm completely, doesn't it?
Oh, entirely. It suggests you can memorize an entire library of theology or high-level business strategy.
You can win every trivia night in your city?
Right. But until that data is practically applied to alter your environment or your behavior, you aren't actually operating in wisdom.
You're essentially just a walking hard drive. The data is stored, but the program hasn't been executed.
So the burning question is, how do we actually execute the program?
How do we get the knowledge out of the internal hard drive and into the external real world?
Well, Pastor Jacob maps this out as a strict sequence, a graduation of 3 progressive levels of attainment.
And he insists you cannot skip a step. You can't just jump to the end.
No, the assembly line starts with the intake of the raw material itself.
Okay, let's look at the biblical foundation he uses for this very first phase, which he calls instructional wisdom.
It comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 2.
Right, specifically verses 1, 3 through 5, and verse 7. Let me read the first part. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, yea, if thou criest after knowledge and liftest up thy voice for understanding.
Notice the active posture there, crying after it, lifting your voice.
Yeah, it's not passive. Let me keep reading. If thou seekest her as silver, and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God.
And then we get to verse 7, which is crucial.
He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly.
Okay, if we isolate verse 7, the linchpin for this first stage is that phrase, sound wisdom.
Right.
Pastor Jacob dives into the original Hebrew here, pointing out that the word is tushia.
Tushia. And its Greek equivalent, often used in similar biblical contexts, is sunetos.
Exactly. And if you look at the etymology of these ancient words, they completely strip away the mystical aura we usually associate with wisdom.
They mean something incredibly tactical.
Yes.
Yes.
To instruct, to impart knowledge, or to give intellectual ability. This is level 1.
It's the absolute starting point. It represents the information, the specific instructions, or the raw knowledge that's arriving at your doorstep from an outside source.
But notice the mechanics of how it arrives. Because he just defined wisdom as applied knowledge, mere reception isn't enough.
Yeah, you don't just get tushia delivered to your brain and magically become a wise person.
Right. The author emphasizes that as this instructional wisdom comes to you, a specific response is required to activate it.
And the very first step of that response is processing the instruction to ascertain its validity.
You have to act as a judge.
You have to weigh the incoming data to decide whether to receive it as absolute truth or, well, to throw it out in the trash.
It demands an active mental firewall. It is the furthest thing from passive absorption.
So when the instruction arrives, your job isn't to just open your mouth and swallow it whole because it sounds nice.
Or because a highly charismatic person said it.
Right, your job is to interrogate it. Is this actually true? Does this align with reality?
Pastor Jacob emphasizes that we must take the right action based on our personal judgment of the word of instruction.
And that judgment is what transitions the data from outside of you to a foundational block inside of you.
Exactly.
Okay, but wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
If the text is saying that instructional wisdom requires me to personally judge the word to ascertain its validity, doesn't that inherently make me the ultimate authority?
That's a really common concern.
Like, doesn't that elevate human intellect above the instruction itself? I read that and immediately thought, isn't he essentially telling us to treat divine instruction like a spiritual buffet line?
Or your personal judgment just picks whatever tastes good to you and discards the rest.
Yeah. Like, oh, I like this verse, I'll keep it. This one is too hard, I'll toss it.
The wording can certainly trigger that alarm. But if you look at how tushia functions historically, that's a complete misunderstanding of the kind of judgment taking place.
Okay, clarify that for me.
The text isn't suggesting you are the source of truth. The right action is based on your personal judgment of the instruction so that you can submit to it.
Oh, interesting. So that you can submit to it.
Right. You aren't judging the instruction to invent your own bespoke reality or to mold the truth to fit your current lifestyle preferences.
You are exercising rigorous discernment to recognize the truth that exists independently of you.
Exactly. You are evaluating the incoming information against the ultimate standard of God's Word.
So it's not about asserting your authority over the instruction.
No, it's about recognizing the authority of the instruction so you can properly yield to it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because if you indiscriminately accept every piece of advice or teaching that crosses your path, your internal foundation is going to be made of sand.
The act of validating it is what actually cures the concrete.
Precisely.
Okay, you aren't playing the role of the creator of truth. You are playing the role of the inspector.
Yes, the inspector.
You are recognizing it, authenticating it, and then yielding to it. Let's pull this into the realm of our modern, everyday lives.
Yes, specifically in personal development or discipleship.
Think about sitting in an auditorium listening to a keynote speaker, or maybe you're reading a highly recommended book on organizational leadership during your morning commute.
The passive approach, which is what most of us default to, is just nodding along.
Taking a few notes, maybe highlighting a catchy sentence.
Thinking, wow, that's profound, and then going into the office.
But Pastor Jacob's framework suggests that passive approach is a complete failure at level 1.
Because the information bypassed the firewall. It entered the memory bank without ever being authenticated.
Right. The active approach, what Touche actually demands, is running that keynote speech or that leadership principle through a rigorous critical filter.
You have to stop and ask yourself, does this principle actually align with ultimate truth?
Can I trace this back to a solid foundation? Am I willing to accept this as a load-bearing pillar in my life? Or is this just a trendy psychological trick that I need to discard?
And that deliberate, active filtering process is what imparts intellectual ability to you.
You are strengthening your own cognitive and spiritual faculties just by wrestling with the incoming text.
But this brings us to a massive bottleneck in human behavior.
How so?
Because once you've done the hard work of validating that instruction, once you have the authenticated raw material, what do you do with it?
Right. If you're listening to this on a run or doing chores right now, think about your own mental inbox for a second.
What is a recent major piece of instruction or advice you've received?
Maybe it was a hard conversation with a mentor, a podcast that really challenged your worldview, or a specific scripture you read this morning.
Did you actually take the time to interrogate it and ascertain its validity?
Have you wrestled it to the ground to declare it as a load-bearing truth, or is it just sitting in your brain, unread, unauthenticated, and completely unapplied?
It's a pretty uncomfortable diagnostic.
It really is.
Because sitting with validated information requires a massive expenditure of mental energy.
And that expenditure is the exact mechanism that transitions us from the intake of level 1 to the processing core of level 2.
Right. Pastor Jacob identifies this next necessary phase as discretional wisdom.
Let's read the foundational text he uses to anchor the second level. He pulls from the opening of Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3.
Go ahead.
It outlines the very purpose of the Proverbs themselves: to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion.
Look at the interplay of words there. We see instruction of wisdom sitting right alongside knowledge and discretion.
Yeah, they're paired together.
Pastor Jacob links this level of discretional wisdom to the Hebrew word sakal and the Greek word phronesis.
Sakal and phronesis. This is a major shift in the assembly line, isn't it?
A huge shift. Level 1 was focused on the external, managing the incoming supply of information.
Right.
Level 2, phronesis, is entirely internal. Etymologically, phronesis and sakal deal with the mechanics of the mind.
It means to pull things apart and put them back together mentally.
Pastor Jacob describes it beautifully as the exercise of the mind in deep contemplation. It is the deliberate act of operating with prudence.
The exercise of the mind in deep contemplation. I have to tell you, that phrase stopped me in my tracks when I was reading his work.
Why is that?
Because it implies something that is almost entirely extinct in modern culture.
Oh, absolutely.
It implies space. It requires a quietness that our current technological environment is actively designed to eradicate.
Yeah, our phones do not want us in deep contemplation.
No. But he argues that the entire function of this discretional wisdom is to enable a person to exercise prudence concerning the instruction they just gathered.
The goal of level 2 is to prepare the human mind to take action based on accurate, deeply synthesized decisions.
If we zoom out and look at the psychology of human failure, this is the exact stage where the vast majority of people get derailed.
Both in secular endeavors and in our spiritual walks.
Because human beings possess a deep-seated, dopamine-driven desire to leap directly from acquiring data level 1 straight to taking visible, triumphant action.
We want to read a biography of a billionaire and immediately launch a startup the next morning.
Or we want to hear a sermon on grace and immediately attempt to fix a broken 20-year relationship in one conversation.
We crave the output.
We do, but the ancient texts and frankly the mechanics of the human mind demand this unglamorous middle step.
You have to synthesize the authenticated data. You have to subject it to deep, agonizing mental contemplation before any resulting action can legitimately be called wise.
I love how you described it as an assembly line earlier, because think about a software compiler.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You can write the most brilliant lines of raw code in the world. That's your level 1 instructional wisdom.
Right, the data is flawless.
But you can't just throw raw text code at a computer processor and expect it to run a video game.
No, the code has to go through a compiler.
It has to be translated, optimized, and synthesized into an executable file. That compilation process is phronesis. It's a heavy internal processing load.
Let's ground this in a high-stakes business or leadership scenario.
Okay, yeah.
Because the presence or absence of SQL becomes glaringly obvious in those environments.
Imagine a division leader at a mid-sized company. They receive the Q3 data report, and it's brutal.
Sales are down 15%, key personnel are leaving.
A competitor just launched a cheaper product. That data report is level 1. It is validated instructional wisdom. It is the truth of their situation.
Right. So what happens next?
Well, the reactive leader, the one who completely bypasses level 2, panics.
They experience the adrenaline spike of the data, and they immediately start firing off aggressive emails.
Exactly. They slash the marketing budget, they mandate mandatory overtime, they pivot the sales strategy overnight, all just to alleviate the anxiety of the data.
They leap from information directly to panicked action.
And historically, reacting to raw data without synthesis almost always fractures the organization.
Oh, it creates total chaos.
But contrast that with the leader operating in phronesis, operating in discretional wisdom.
They receive the exact same brutal Q3 report.
But instead of firing off emails, they take that data and they retreat. They close the laptop.
They put their phone in a drawer.
They engage in that exercise of the mind in deep contemplation. They take the raw data of the lost sales and they synthesize it.
They cross-reference it with their historical knowledge of the market cycle.
Right. They overlay it with the emotional burnout they've noticed in their team. They weigh the short-term financial hit against the long-term brand integrity.
They were isolating variables. They are mentally running simulations of different responses.
Yeah. They are actively preparing their mind to make an accurate, prudent decision. And only after that slow, deliberate, heavy cognitive processing do they emerge to implement a strategy.
Because the subsequent action is born from deep contemplation, not from a spike in cortisol.
The compiler metaphor is perfect. If you skip the compilation, the software crashes.
If you don't carve out the time and mental bandwidth for SQL or phronesis, your actions in the real world will not be guided by prudence.
They'll be entirely hijacked by anxiety.
Or by the pressure of your peers, or just fleeting emotional states.
Pastor Jacob distills this perfectly when he writes, "When a man takes hold of instruction, discretion will guide him."
The validated instruction is the map, but discretion is the compass that actually navigates the terrain.
But it requires you to actively allow that discretion the time and space to do its work.
Exactly.
So ask yourself honestly, in the middle of an incredibly loud, fast-paced, hyper-connected week, are you actually allowing yourself the silent, unbroken time required to develop discretional wisdom?
It's hard to do.
It is. When you face a crisis in your family or a massive opportunity in your career, are you carving out space for deep contemplation, or are you just rushing into decisions based on the raw, unfiltered data of level 1?
Are you treating your mind like a microwave, demanding instant output, or are you treating it like a slow cooker, allowing the ingredients to actually integrate?
Oh, that's good. Microwave versus slow cooker. It fundamentally defines the difference between a life of constant reaction and a life of intentional response.
And the beautiful design of this blueprint is that if you are willing to endure the heavy, invisible, often lonely work of level 2.
If you continually allow prudence to synthesize your authenticated knowledge.
Pastor Jacob argues that you inevitably cross the threshold into the final, most visible, and easily the most exciting level of wisdom.
Which brings us to level 3, creative wisdom, the output.
This is the end of the assembly line,
where the internal processing finally manifests into external reality.
Let's look at the scripture Pastor Jacob uses to anchor this phase. It contains one of the most unexpected and striking claims in his entire work.
Okay, it's Proverbs chapter 8, verses 11 and 12. Let me read it. "For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I wisdom dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions."
When Pastor Jacob introduces this highest level, he points to the Greek word Sophia and the Hebrew word chokmah.
Sophia and chokmah. Let's trace the lineage here. Level 1 was sunetos, the incoming information.
Level 2 is phronesis, the internal contemplation.
And level 3, Sophia, is the culmination. Etymologically, it translates to creative ability, practical skill, and elite acumen.
He explicitly states that this is the specific kind of wisdom that dominates the world of innovation, scientific discovery, and high-level creativity.
And here is the sentence in his analysis that genuinely shifted my perspective.
Which one?
He writes that this level of wisdom puts information together and comes out with something in new and concrete form. It has the ability to bring something where nothing exists.
That is profound.
Think about the sheer magnitude of that definition. To bring something into existence where previously there was nothing.
Culturally, we tend to view wisdom as merely making the safe, conservative, risk-averse choice.
Right. We think, oh, it's wise to look both ways before crossing the street.
Or,
it's wise to diversify your retirement portfolio.
And sure, those things are prudent. But he is arguing that the ultimate highest expression of divine wisdom isn't just about risk mitigation.
It is fundamentally creative.
It is entrepreneurial. It is deeply artistic. It invents.
It acts upon the world. It finds out the knowledge of witty inventions, as the old King James translation so poetically puts it.
Witty inventions. I love that. It is the real-world application of all that validated instruction and deep contemplation, manifesting into a tangible form that permanently alters the environment around you.
But, and this is the crux of his entire structural argument, Pastor Jacob highlights a linkage in the text that we cannot afford to miss.
He points right back to verse 12. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. Remember the terms he just defined. Wisdom here is Sophia creative output.
And prudence is phronesis discretional contemplation.
He connects the dots explicitly, writing, this means that where discretional wisdom is missing, creative wisdom will also be absent.
They are roommates. They dwell together.
You physically and spiritually cannot have the witty invention, the lasting creative breakthrough, or the ability to bring something profound out of nothing if you have bypassed the quiet agony of deep contemplation.
It's a locked sequence.
If you attempt to force creative output without the foundation of prudence, you might generate something, but it will not be true, Sophia.
It won't possess the enduring, structurally sound nature of divine wisdom.
It will be a fragile gimmick.
Like a quick fix patch, a viral moment, or a superficial bandage. But it will lack the integrity required to solve complex foundational problems.
Let's take this out of the realm of widgets and business plans and apply it to something far more volatile: family life and human relationships.
Because a witty invention doesn't just mean patenting a new piece of technology.
Relationships are often the most complex, entrenched puzzles we will ever face.
Imagine a family dealing with a deeply rooted conflict. Let's say it's a marriage that has calcified into bitter resentment.
Or a dynamic with a teenager where all communication is completely broken down.
The standard old ways of interacting are actively failing.
In that scenario, having the raw data, the instruction, is entirely insufficient to save the relationship.
Exactly. As a parent or a spouse, you might know the biblical instruction perfectly. You know level 1.
You know the texts that say, love your neighbor, forgive 70 times 7, provoke not your children to wrath.
You have successfully validated that instructional wisdom, but simply reciting those verses at the dinner table like a textbook isn't going to dismantle years of resentment.
No, it often makes it worse.
What that broken relationship requires is level 3, creative wisdom. You need a witty invention.
You need to engineer a totally new relational dynamic.
A new language of connection, a new rhythm in the household. A breakthrough method of communication that brings healing into a space where absolutely nothing currently exists but anger.
But according to the architectural blueprint of the text, how do you actually access that creative breakthrough? Where does it live?
It dwells with prudence.
That's the secret. You can't just snap your fingers and demand a creative solution.
The parent or the spouse has to retreat into level 2. They have to take the validated instruction, the mandate to love, to be patient, to set healthy boundaries, and they have to take the raw, painful data of their specific family dynamic, and they must exercise their mind in deep contemplation.
They have to sit in the uncomfortable space of prudence.
And they have to pray, to map out the psychological triggers, to analyze their own failures, to synthesize all these moving parts.
And out of that exhausting, quiet, discretional wisdom, the Sophia finally emerges.
Suddenly, they perceive a completely different, counterintuitive approach to reaching their teenager.
They design a new environment.
They establish a boundary that manages to be both immovably firm and deeply loving. That new relational architecture is a witty invention.
That is a staggering way to frame interpersonal conflict. The creative solution to your most agonizing relational problem is actually born in the quiet, hidden contemplation of divine instruction.
If you skip the contemplation, if you just try to force a new dynamic or read a script from a self-help book, it almost always registers as manipulative, inauthentic, and it ultimately fails.
The strict progression of the levels is what guarantees the structural integrity of the outcome.
So take a hard look at the landscape of your own life right now. Where are you currently hitting a brick wall?
Where are you desperately needing a witty invention or a creative breakthrough?
Is it a stagnant project at work? Is it a communication breakdown in your marriage? Is it a ministry initiative that feels like it's running on fumes?
Consider the possibility that the absence of that breakthrough is tied directly to a deficit of deep, prudent contemplation.
Are you exhausting yourself trying to force level 3 output without doing the heavy lifting of level 2 internal processing?
It acts as an incredible diagnostic tool. If your creativity is stalled, check your contemplation.
If your contemplation feels empty and circular, check your intake of valid instruction. It is a brilliantly interlocking, interdependent system.
It truly is a masterclass in how the human mind, when aligned with its original design, is supposed to operate.
We've mapped the mechanics, moving from the intake of Tushya through the internal compiler of Sakal, resulting in the creative output of Shema.
But just as we get this elegant blueprint fully mapped out, Pastor Jacob introduces a massive, sobering caveat that changes the entire content of the conversation.
Yeah, he executes a really sharp pivot here.
Up to this point, the entire focus has been on the sequence of attainment, the how, the pure mechanics of moving from raw data to creative outputs.
But he points out that mechanics alone are completely amoral.
We must rigidly examine the nature of the wisdom we are running through this assembly line.
Because, as he notes, not all wisdom is created equal. There is a fundamental difference between the levels of wisdom we just discussed and the types of wisdom available to us.
He lays it out clearly, writing, "In levels, we are concerned with the graduation or sequence of attainment, while in types of wisdom, we are concerned with its nature, good or bad."
He poses the rhetorical question, does that then imply that we have more than one type of wisdom? Absolutely true.
And to establish this contrast, he points to the writings of the Apostle Paul and the Apostle James.
Let's look at the specific scriptures he uses to draw this battle line. First, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 5 through 7.
All right.
That your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God.
It's a clear distinction right away.
It continues. Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which God ordained before the world unto our glory.
And he pairs that stark warning with James chapter 3, verses 14 through 16.
Right. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
Pastor Jacob is drawing a very definitive, uncompromising line in the sand here.
He is contrasting two entirely distinct operating systems.
On one side, you have the wisdom of God. He outlines its characteristics. It is based entirely on the truth of God's word, not on the shifting sands of human senses.
It is described as hidden, wrapped up in divine mysteries.
And ultimately, as Paul states, its end goal is ordained unto our glory. It is constructive, it builds up the human soul and results in something eternal.
And the alternative operating system.
On the other side, you have the wisdom of this world. And his analysis of this system is incredibly sobering.
He notes that this earthly wisdom is controlled by what Paul calls the princes of this world, which he clarifies is a reference to principalities and spiritual powers.
Its foundational source code is entirely earthly and sensual. It is based exclusively on human senses, physical desires, and immediate gratification.
And according to the Apostle James, the ultimate hallmark, the inescapable fruit of this earthly wisdom, is bitter envying and strife.
But the phrase that really leaped off the page for me, the most stark warning he highlights, is when he quotes Paul saying that the wisdom of this world comes to naught.
Pastor Jacob expands on this, writing that the total effect of worldly wisdom is naught or nullity when it is compared with the wisdom of God.
Nullity. A total mathematical zeroing. Absolute nothingness.
He is arguing that this is the ultimate, inescapable destiny of any system, any grand philosophy, any witty invention that is rooted purely in the earthly and the sensual.
It is.
Okay, I see the theological point he is making, but frankly, if I look out my window, I have a really hard time reconciling this idea of nullity with the sheer scale of human achievement.
How do you mean?
Well, if worldly wisdom, driven entirely by human senses, ultimately brings about nothingness, How do we explain the modern world?
Yeah.
Look at Silicon Valley. Look at the eradication of diseases through secular medical advancements. Look at artificial intelligence, space exploration, global supply chains.
The secular world is clearly operating at level 3.
Exactly. They possess a staggering amount of creative wisdom. They are building skyscrapers that touch the clouds and supercomputers that map the human genome. How can the text possibly claim that their wisdom comes to naught? Aren't they demonstrating massive amounts of Sophia?
Is the most vital question you could ask, and answering it requires us to look at how the biblical text defines the lifespan and the ultimate fruit of an invention.
Okay, wait up.
Pastor Jacob isn't making the absurd claim that the worldly system is incapable of processing information. The secular earthly system can absolutely run the assembly line.
They excel at level 1 data collection, they spend billions on level 2 deep synthesis, and they generate miraculous level 3 creative output. They do it every single day.
But the biblical critique isn't about the mechanical efficiency of the output. It is about the nature and the spiritual trajectory of that output.
The structural integrity of the foundation it's built upon.
Precisely. The author emphasizes that worldly wisdom is based on human senses.
Oh.
It is bounded entirely by the physical, the immediate, the temporal reality.
It can synthesize data to engineer brilliant, breathtaking temporary solutions.
It can build a vastly superior microchip. It can construct a taller skyscraper. But remember the diagnostic that James provided regarding the fruit of that wisdom: envying and strife.
Right.
Think about the advent of social media, arguably one of the most massive, unprecedented technological inventions in human history.
A staggering amount of creative wisdom and processing power went into building those platforms.
But because the foundational code of that ecosystem is driven by earthly, sensual metrics, maximizing engagement through outrage, monetizing human envy, fostering comparison, and prioritizing financial gain at the direct expense of human psychological health, what is the ultimate measurable effect of that invention on the human soul?
It is exactly what James predicted: strife, unprecedented anxiety, deep societal division.
Wow, that completely reframes the definition of success.
The technological innovation itself might be technically brilliant, a true witty invention. But if the foundational wisdom driving its creation and application is earthly and sensual, the human result is inevitable strife.
And this is exactly why Pastor Jacob, echoing Paul, says it ultimately comes to naught when compared with the eternal wisdom of God.
He isn't suggesting that the microchip or the skyscraper is going to literally vanish into thin air tomorrow afternoon.
He is making a much more profound point. In the grand eternal scheme of existence, wisdom that only satisfies the human senses, wisdom that breeds division, envy, and strife, has zero eternal weight.
It is a nullity in the kingdom of heaven.
It cannot produce lasting peace. It cannot reconcile a broken soul to its creator. It doesn't ordain humanity unto glory.
It essentially just builds more comfortable furniture for the deck of the Titanic.
Divine wisdom, conversely, is based on mysteries on eternal spiritual truths that will outlast the physical universe itself.
That distinction is everything. It's not that people operating in earthly wisdom can't invent incredible things. It's that worldly wisdom cannot invent peace.
It cannot engineer salvation.
It cannot code eternal joy. No matter how technically advanced it becomes, it always eventually devolves into strife because it is fundamentally disconnected from the source of life.
It's sensual, meaning it is entirely trapped within the boundaries of what we can see, touch, measure, and consume in this temporary existence.
Which brings a crushing yet clarifying weight to the decisions we make every day.
When you are running your own internal assembly line, when you are gathering instructions, sitting in the silence of deep contemplation and trying to create a solution for your business, your community, or your family, you have to constantly, ruthlessly audit your source material.
Are you meditating on the eternal wisdom of God? Or are you just synthesizing the latest secular trends to achieve a temporary earthly status?
Let's ground this in your reality right now.
Take a hard look at the core principles that are currently guiding your biggest life decisions.
Think about the philosophy behind how you manage your finances, how you are disciplining your children, or how you are charting the trajectory of your career.
Are those guiding principles deeply rooted in the mysteries, the commands, and the truth of God's word?
Or, if you're honest, are they relying strictly on human senses, cultural trends, and the relentless pursuit of earthly validation?
Because the blueprint shows us that one path leads to a creative output that yields profound peace and eternal glory.
The other path, despite looking incredibly successful and shiny for a season, is mathematically guaranteed to lead to envy, strife, and ultimate nullity.
It is a sobering reality check. But honestly, it is also an incredibly empowering one because it removes the confusion.
It clarifies the path forward.
It does. It cuts through the noise. So let's bring all of these complex threads together and synthesize the journey we've taken through Pastor Jacob's framework today.
We started by dismantling the illusion of the information age. The realization that simply hoarding vast amounts of data doesn't make us wise, because true wisdom is fundamentally defined as applied knowledge.
And we learned that to safely reach that point of application, we have to meticulously move through a specific psychological and spiritual sequence.
We begin at level 1, instructional wisdom, marked by the ancient words tushia, or sunetos.
This is the gateway where we receive external knowledge and actively, rigorously process it to ascertain its validity, declaring it as a load-bearing truth we are willing to build upon.
Once validated, we must fiercely resist the modern urge to react immediately.
Instead, we carry that truth into level 2, discretional wisdom, represented by sakal or phronesis.
We have to take that validated instruction into the quiet, often agonizing space of deep mental contemplation.
Allowing prudence to run its compiling process, preparing our minds for accurate, deeply rooted decisions.
And because we have the discipline to not skip that vital, invisible step of contemplation, we finally unlock level 3, creative wisdom, known as chokma or Sophia.
Because we understand that true creativity dwells exclusively with prudence, we are empowered to bring forth those witty inventions. New, concrete, world-altering solutions in places where nothing but brokenness existed before.
And we do all of this while keeping a vigilant, uncompromising watch over the type of wisdom we are employing at the start of the assembly line.
We must ensure that we are rooted in the divine, mystery-revealing, peace-producing wisdom of God, rather than defaulting to the earthly, sensual, strife-producing wisdom of this world that, despite its temporary brilliance, ultimately collapses into nothing.
And I think it is absolutely critical that we end our time today on a deeply pastoral, incredibly hopeful note regarding all this.
Please do.
Because when we spend an hour talking about ancient Greek and Hebrew etymology, the heavy burden of deep contemplation and the rigorous demands of divine mysteries, it can very easily sound like this level of operation is reserved for an elite few.
Right. It can sound like you need a master's degree in theology or a secluded monastery to ever achieve true divine wisdom.
But the beautiful reality of the text is the exact opposite.
Expand on that, because I think a lot of people feel disqualified from this kind of deep wisdom.
The qualification is found in the promise of the very first scripture we read. Let's look at Proverbs 2 again.
Okay.
It says, "If thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understanding, he layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly."
He layeth up sound wisdom.
This intricate, progressive attainment of divine wisdom, from instruction to contemplation to creation, is freely available to every single believer who seeks God in faith.
The text says God is actively laying it up for you. He is storing it up for you to access.
He wants to be your buckler, your shield, and your defender as you learn to walk this out in your daily life.
You do not need a PhD. You do not need a massive platform.
You simply need a willing heart, a deep reverence for His Word, and the quiet discipline to sit in His presence and let His instruction guide your discretion.
True. World-changing wisdom is a gift. He is eager to impart to anyone who sincerely asks for it in faith.
That completely changes the barrier to entry. It's not out of reach. It's literally waiting for us to engage with it.
And that brings us to the end of our time in these sources today. But I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought to mull over as you transition back into the noise of your day.
Think back to the very definition of wisdom we started with.
Pastor Jacob noted that unapplied knowledge produces absolutely nothing. It yields neither good nor evil. It just sits there in your mental faculties, occupying space, rotting on the hard drive.
Over the course of this deep dive, you have just received a massive wealth of instructional wisdom.
You've gathered the validated data on exactly how this spiritual and psychological process works. You have the blueprint.
The question is, what does this mean for you tomorrow morning?
Will you let this conversation become just another piece of unapplied information that sits in your brain, producing nothing but a fleeting moment of inspiration?
Or will you take what you've heard today, log off, and carry it into deep, quiet contemplation tonight, so that it can birth a witty invention, a new dynamic, a totally new reality in your life tomorrow?
The blueprint is in your hands. The choice and the wisdom is yours.